In this video, we are going to go over an example of buying on margin. We will start with a stock price of $70. If we want to buy on margin, we will need at least an initial margin of 50%. That is a requirement in this example. After we open the position on margin, in this example, we have a maintenance margin of 40%. These two numbers mean the amount of equity that you must have in place to even start the margin position, which is 50% to get started. And this is the amount of equity that you must maintain throughout the position while the position is open. And that's called the maintenance margin. The reason you're allowed a lower percentage on the maintenance margin is because there is an understanding that the stock price is going to fluctuate up or down. So they allow for you to have a little less equity any given time where the stock price is down. However, your equity cannot fall below 40%, or they were going to do a margin call, which is when they ask you for more money to deposit in your account or assets in order to bring your equity up, or that you sell some of your assets at a loss in order to bring down that percentage, that relationship between debt and equity. This will make more sense once we go over the examples here and the calculations. Let's say you want to purchase 1,000 shares, and the interest they're going to charge you a year is 9% for that portion that they lending you money. Okay, so let's start building the balance sheet or the capital sheet. So let's start with the total assets. In your initial position, your intent is to buy 1,000 shares for $70. So we are going to start the formula with an equal sign, take the 1,000 shares and multiply it by the $70. So we are now at 70,000 in assets. Now, our initial margin dictates that we need at least 50% equity. So that's money and assets that you have to have in place in order to borrow the rest. So we're going to start with that number, your initial margin. So we're going to go to the 50% times the assets. So from that $70,000, you need to have 35,000 in cash or other stock or other marketable securities, etc. So that means you can borrow the rest. So we take the assets minus the equity that you're going to bring in, and that's your borrowed amount. In this case, 50-50, because you put in 50%, you borrow the 50%. So let's look at this for the percentage aspect. So I take the assets and I divide it by the assets, I get 100%. If I take the amount borrowed and I divide it by the total assets, I'm borrowing 15%. And the other 50% I placed in equity. Now, let's say that the stock price dropped to $60. So now we have to look at our position with that price drop. So we still have the same 1,000 shares, but now we are at $60. So we have a total of $60,000 in assets. However, the amount we borrowed is still the same. We're not going to bring in the interest yet. Right? So how much equity do we have left? In this case, we take the assets minus the amount borrowed, which has not changed, and we're down to $25,000 of equity. That makes sense. If the stock price dropped $10 and 1,000 shares, your equity is going to drop by that amount. So let's look at our new percentages. So of course, we still have 100% there. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste to go a little faster. And now what we have is 58.33% of your assets are borrowed because the 35,000 did not change, and you're down to 41.67% of equity because of the drop in value. Now, this 41.67, it's still above the 40%. So you're not going to get a margin call. The brokerage company will say you're still fine. However, keep an eye because you're getting really close to going below 40. Okay, so let's say you decide let's say that before you make the decision to get out of your position or not, you want to know what's the lowest price they can drop before you go under 40%. Okay, so we're going to talk about minimum stock price before margin call. So before you make a decision on what you're going to do, you want to know, well, how much further can this stock drop in price before it breaks the 40% maintenance margin? So we have this formula here for that. So what we do is we just follow the formula. We take the amount borrowed, which is for 35,000. Then we are going to follow that 1 minus maintenance margin. Now I'm adding the extra parenthesis here because if you see the formula, you have to do the top part first by itself before dividing by the shares. So we need to isolate that piece. And then we take all of that and we divide it by the amount of shares. Allow me 1 second. And there's a correction. So the stock can drop to $58.33 before it hits 40%. Let's see how that looks on the assets table. So we take a stock price of 58.33 and multiply by 1,000 shares, your total assets are now 50,333.33 cents. The amount borrowed is still the same. And your equity is the difference. Let's look at that in percentages. And as you can see, that's exactly right. A stock price of $58.33 will put you right at the 40%. If it drops 1 more cent, you will be below the maintenance margin and you're going to get the margin call. And then you have to make a decision to either sell some of the assets at a loss or deposit more cash or other assets in there. For example, I'm just going to write in 58.32 and there it is. It broke the 40% maintenance margin. So that's how you calculate the lowest the stock price can go before you get a margin call. Now, let's say, you know what? It's not looking good. Might as well get out of the position now before I continue losing money. So let's look at your return on investment and revenues and everything like that. So if you decide to sell the position at the $60 before it keeps on dropping, the money that comes in is your $60,000 because you sell the $60 times 1,000 shares. Now you have to pay back. You have to pay back the loan, the principal, the 35,000. So that equals negative 35,000, it shows as a deduction from revenues. And now you have to pay interest. We have to cover the interest charge of 9%. Assuming that you held it for the amount, the period required for that 9%. So we go ahead and take the amount borrowed. We're going to deduct it as well. So we take the amount borrowed times the 9%. And that gives the interest you have to pay. And when you put it all together, the amount of cash that comes back in is 21,850. However, you originally put in 35,000, so you do have a loss, and that's fine. That's the net cash flow after all the transactions. So what's your return on investment? Well, you take the net divided by the amount that you originally started. We'll put a -1 there to get that your percentage. And that's your 37.57% negative. So you had a loss of that amount. Another way to do it, if you just take the equity that you end up with, that is your new equity, I already calculated. And then we can do the interest, which is borrowed times the interest. And then take those two, you see how you end up with the same number. Your ROI will still be the same. Now, because there was financial leverage in this example, your ROI is going to be larger than if you didn't use financial leverage. For example, if you were to purchase, I'm going to do this on the side here, the entire 70,000 by yourself without the margin, and then it dropped down to 60,000. As it happened here, you went from 70,000 to 60,000, but we're assuming you did not borrow anything, so there's no interest. So you would have had a loss of $10,000. So if you take the $10,000, let's do it the other way. We take the $60,000 divided by the 70,000, your new position by your original position, your ROI would have been negative 14.29% because you only lost $10,000. Now, that's to show you how financial leverage works. If it would have gone up in price, you would have had a much larger ROI by borrowing than paying yourself. If you would have lost while borrowing, your ROI is greater loss. And that's what happens with financial leverage. It can magnify your earnings, your returns, but can also magnify your losses. That's it for our video. See you on the next one.